Minimum holders Nice and Murasaki get into an intense conversation about the sorry state of the world, but we learn that it's simply because Nice doesn't have enough money in his account. Some goons try to rob the bank, but Nice easily beats them up and lets the police take care of the rest. He goes to his cafe, where he meets Master, Birthday, Reisho, Hajime, and Koniko, all of whom make up the Hamatora agency. Birthday and Reisho head off for bodyguard duty, while Nice and Murasaki argue over which missions to take. Eventually, Nice investigates a kidnapping while Murasaki checks out a safe that cannot be opened by the Toyosaki family. Nice asks for some tips from his informant Mao, but doesn't have any money, so Detective Art helps him out. After a brief chat, Nice suspects something fishy and calls Birthday to ask about his client Azusa. However, the detectives are suddenly attacked by a goon who collects a code from Azusa. Birthday battles the gravity holder and sends him away, but Reisho laments his broken down car. Nice manages to connect the dots when Azusa reveals she was having an affair with Toyosaki. He calls up Murasaki to reveal that their client was a playboy, but then the goon attacks the family. Murasaki takes him on, while Birthday and Reisho defeat the other henchmen. That's when Nice activates his sonic powers and defeats the overpowered villain. Murasaki finally opens the safe, but is shocked to see spicy magazines inside, so he burns them all. Art and his assistant, Gasket, arrive at the scene, and we learn that there's a serial killer targeting minimum holders. The next day, Theo and Rei come to the Hamatora agency and ask for help in finding their fine arts teacher, Kitazawa. Nice and Murasaki enter their school in disguise and make friends with the local students. Here, the detectives learn about the reverse app, where everyone talks about things that they wouldn't mention in public. Our heroes discover that Theo was bullied by some kids, but Kitazawa had helped him out. Unfortunately, the teacher is found murdered, and this seems to be the work of the serial killer. The students cry their hearts out at the funeral, and then Nice finds something suspicious about the evidence. He learns that Kitazawa also had the reverse app and decides to investigate it further. That's when we learn that Theo's bullies were actually working under Kitazawa, so Nice traces his actions using some photographs. This is a difficult pill to swallow, but Theo decides to gain closure about his sensei by visiting his office. However, he finds a bomb at the venue, and then one of his bullies shows up to set it off. Luckily, Nice and Murasaki join forces to defuse the situation and take care of the bombing culprit, who is actually shown to be a fake minimum holder. Art suspects a criminal mastermind to be behind this conspiracy, and he is later revealed to be Moral. The cops realize that the serial killer is attacking OG power holders so that he can use their brains to make the fake ones. Later, an activist named Ito approaches the Hamatora agency and asks them to help her bring down the Minimum Academy because she wants equal treatment for all humans. The team is hesitant at first, but then she offers 1,000,000 yen, and this gets Koniko interested. Art manages to trace some criminal activity to Professor Moral and investigates him. Moral reveals that he is conducting research on non-innate minimum holders because he wants to create a world where no one is at a disadvantage. His philosophy on the weak and the strong is something to be worried about, and it leads to a fierce argument between Art and Moral. That's when Moral offers to give Art a minimum ability, and it causes a physical confrontation. However, Art has to leave when an overpowered monster boy attacks the public. Our heroes deal with him, and Ito wishes to capture the monster, but learns that he is actually her son, Takahiro. Then Art gets a call from Moral confirming that he was the one who helped him transform. Nice berates Ito for being a bad mother, after which the rest of the team gets together to catch Takahiro. They are able to locate the monster boy, but he is too overpowered for the cops, so Nice arrives to save the day. He unleashes his sonic powers and totally dominates Takahiro, after which he is able to calm the beast down. Art and his men investigate the mad scientist but are unable to find any evidence. Now, we meet 3 and Honey, who manage to stop a sniper from killing a politician by using Honey's prophecy device. Later, Koniko enacts a fantasy with the other heroes as part of an awareness commercial, but Murasaki is ashamed to sell himself for money. Art investigates a series of arrests where teenagers are using real guns for their crimes. Meanwhile, Honey gets kidnapped by some officers, and 3 chases after her. Nice meets with Art to discuss his case, and he also seems to suspect that someone is giving normal people fake powers. 3 transforms into his alter ego, the Bloody Beast, and saves his mistress from her attackers. After learning that there is a mental email address that is brainwashing children, Nice discovers that everything is happening through a viral video with encoded messages. The villain doesn't seem to like his job, so Moral kills him for being unmotivated. Honey and Beast figure that guns are being disassembled and smuggled all over town, so they also get to work on locating the base of operations. Art and Nice find the culprit's body and figure that this is all part of a grand scheme. The next day, Hajime wins a trip to the hot springs, and then the Hamatora agency is introduced to Honey and 3. Birthday tries flirting with Honey, so 3 teaches them a brutal lesson. Now our heroes are given a new job by Arata, where they have to tail her boyfriend Hasuda. Some goons attack our heroes, but they aren't interested in girls, so they go for the boys. The holders take down the goons, but then Hasuda shows himself and reveals that he has the power to seduce any male by doing crunches. Birthday doesn't believe him, but he immediately gets seduced, as does Ratio. They are luckily taken away from the scent, after which Birthday reveals that Hasuda is actually after a prince so that he can get an idol named Seiji reinstated after his spicy scandals. The girls confront Hasuda about this, as he is being a bit too obsessive, and then we learn that the scent has no effect on women. A hilarious sequence follows as Hajime uses one of Hasuda's slaves as a surfboard and gets to him. Hasuda loses his mind and tries to jump off the building, but Hajime saves him just in time. Then we learn that Gasket is a double agent as he kills the doctor investigating the crime scenes. Pop idols Chiyu and George announce their engagement, and it causes a huge fuss in the industry. However, she is kidnapped, so Birthday and Ratio are summoned by her manager, Nashihira, to get her back. Art and Honey investigate another murder, but he is told to take the day off by Gasket, who is clearly acting funny. The detectives find an idol named Misty and confront her about Chiyu, but she says that she's innocent. After a long argument, Birthday asks her to cooperate with them, and she agrees to do so. Misty expresses her admiration for Chiyu to Ratio, but then Birthday is kidnapped. Ratio talks to the kidnapper and realizes that the actual target is Misty. As they make their way to the location, Ratio thinks back to the time he first met Birthday. The kidnapped hero shares the same story with Chiyu once he wakes up next to her, and we learn that he had an incurable disease when he was a child. However, he managed to survive it, and now he uses the same motivation to create a spark and alert Ratio. Upon reaching the destination, we learn that Nashihira was the culprit all along, and he transforms into a steel body to dominate Ratio and Birthday. Luckily, the minimum holders unite their powers to defeat him, and then the others arrive to finish the job. Then we see Moral, who uses his powers to disguise himself as the dead doctor. Upon interrogation, Nashihira reveals that he was simply drugged one day and had woken up with his powers. With this new information, Art finally talks to Nice about Moral, but he seems to have known about this all along. Art warns him against the case, but Nice asks him to take it easy. Suddenly, one of the minimum heads is stolen from the facility, and the duo investigates it. Nice suspects that the culprit used camouflage to get the job done, but Art tells him not to interfere with official business. Nice gets upset, but his buddies at Cafe Nowhere simply tease him, after which they are given one more job. Art calls Honey and 3 for help, but he seems to be drained from all the hard work he's been putting in. A flashback shows us that our heroes were actually a part of the Minimum Academy, but decided to drop out, while Art was never able to realize his true potential. Meanwhile, 3 gives the detective a thorough training session where he is mercilessly beaten. Despite his thrashing, Art is allowed to win one round, and it lifts his spirits. He finally locates Moral in a graveyard and threatens him with his gun. However, the villain refuses to bat an eye and continues to talk about his mission. It gets weirder for Art when Moral reveals his true target is Nice, who is a supreme human. Art refuses to let him have his way, but then Moral shows that he was disguised as Gasket all this time and dominates him. Moral offers to give Art a minimum power, but he refuses it, and this leads to a heartbreaking scene where Moral brutally shoots Art after telling him a secret. Moral tells his follower Momoka to take the body away, and he becomes Art to answer Nice's call so that he can avoid suspicion. The Hamatora agency visits Okinawa Island the next day in order to inspect a mysterious drink called Ideal, which has been making people fall asleep. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the ingredients, so the team is asked to catch the creator of the drink, who is actually their client's brother. Theo and Ray try to have a nice time at the beach, but are confronted by some goons and are getting into a tense argument. Meanwhile, Nice and Murasaki nab their culprit, but he also seemed to have taken his own drug. He starts having dreams about defeating a demon king and becoming popular with the girls. So the detectives take him to his brother. Now Theo asks for Nice's help to take on his annoying rivals in a contest. The competition consists of various stages and the participants prepare themselves for battle. However, they start getting disqualified one after another, when Mao misleads them as the announcer. Honey deceives the men with her body, but Nice is able to defeat her with ease. That leaves only him and Murasaki, so they fiercely fight each other. Nice comes out on top, and luckily, the culprit wakes up and comes to his senses, after which he promises to stop producing Ideal. Nice wishes to meet Art, but Gasket refuses the privilege. Now 3 visits his orphanage, where he happily greets his children, and then we see a flashback to his brutal past. Later, Nice meets Momoka, who is masquerading as a flower girl. He asks some silly questions, but it seems as if he has seen through her disguise. Later, a client asks the agency to arrest 3 as he feels he is doing something shady at the orphanage. Honey is protective of her bodyguard, but Nice and Murasaki decide to do some research. We learn that the children under 3 are victims of war, and 3 is raising them so that they can kill him for murdering their families. Honey reaches the scene and learns about this, so she berates the beast and decides to raise the kids as peaceful souls. At night, Helen Lee and his men attack the orphanage so that they can trigger the Bloody Beast avatar. Honey and Murasaki save the kids, while 3 and Nice defeat Helen Lee. However, the villain sets the place on fire, so 3 acts fast and saves everyone. The public coverage is enough for Moral to unleash his Black Cosmos army. The assassins carry out their killing spree, and then our heroes meet Takahiro, who is willing to help them out. Unfortunately, the town is at odds with minimum holders due to the recent attacks. Takahiro reveals that his prison was invaded by the Black Cosmos army, which is why he's out in the open. However, his main problem is that he wants to go back to normal so that he can date cute girls again. The agency is also shut down due to the recent political turmoil, and Nice figures that this is all part of Moral's plan. Meanwhile, Hajime decides to help Takahiro with his body by going on a diet plan. People start using the reverse app to post against minimum holders, but Momoka exposes their locations, and this leads to a period of turmoil and riots as both sides clash against each other. Things get worse when Ito and her cult try to steal 3's children. Chiyu is also captured and beaten while Moral and Momoka celebrate their evil plan. Nice suddenly connects the dots when he doesn't find Art in his office and rushes to confront Moral. In a surprising turn of events, Nice takes his foe to the cafe, where he meets the others. That's when we learn that he had used Honey's ability to see the future in order to catch Moral. The villain shows off his transformation powers, and then he proceeds to explain why he was taking the essence from his victims to create fake powers. Nice berates him for being evil, but Moral repeats the fact that he wishes to make this world more equal. Then we see Birthday and Ratio tending to Chiyu's injuries. Nice agrees with some aspects of Moral's theory, but calls him a fool for orchestrating such a horrible apocalypse. Meanwhile, Murasaki loses his mind, so he fights an entire army of minimum holders by himself. He is eventually joined by Hajime, but then they learn that the civil center is under attack. Moral decides to leave and uses Koniko as his hostage to escape unharmed. At the civil center, Takahiro saves his mother in the middle of an intense battle. Hajime and Murasaki get injured as they fight the attackers, so Takahiro turns into his monster form to defeat all his opponents. However, he is brutally injured, so Moral decides to kill him in yet another heartbreaking scene. Hajime loses her mind and faints from rage, while Moral injects himself with a power serum. Now everyone in town panics. Momoka sends killer robots everywhere to injure civilians. Luckily, Honey uses her device to stop the robots, and then Momoka is also caught red-handed by Gasket. Nice and Murasaki finally reach Moral at his ship, but are attacked by his goons. Murasaki takes them on while our hero makes it to the villain. However, Moral uses his new teleportation powers to dominate Nice, He reveals that he is going to activate a soundburst when the ship reaches a media tower, thus causing everyone to go deaf. Nice tries to stop him, but Moral is too fast at the moment. Murasaki attempts to help him out, but gets thrashed and knocked out in the process. Nice is running out of options, but then he starts snapping his fingers in front of his ears and everyone sends him messages of support. However, he simply throws his phone away and an intense battle is kicked off. The Sonic Boy uses all his extreme skills to overpower Moral and eventually defeat him. Murasaki also manages to divert the ship and save the day, but then Art makes a surprise entry. He kills Moral and seemingly shoots at Nice as well. And that's the end of Season 1. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to see Season 2 as well. Hit the bell icon for regular updates. See you soon!